The stars hung quiet and cold in the far edge of the Orion sector, a place most charts marked as empty. But space was never truly empty. In a sector long thought dead, something stirred, a faint energy pulse, buried beneath cosmic dust and silence. High Commander Solari Vex stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Sovereign Lance, watching the data stream on the main holoscreen. Her sharp silver eyes narrowed. "Is it confirmed?" she asked. The science officer nodded. "Yes, Commander." A cloaking field just flickered. "There's a planet behind it, blue, breathable atmosphere. Uncharted. It wasn't there before." Vex stepped forward. She was a tall woman with a hard face, every word she spoke carrying weight. "Bring us in. Prepare an extraction team. I want eyes on the ground in 1 hour." "Yes, Commander." To most in the Empire of Tarsis, finding an unclaimed planet was rare, but Vex knew the truth. This one had hidden itself. Planets don't hide unless they have something worth hiding. Across the sector, a small battered ship drifted near an asteroid field. Inside sat Cattle Draven, watching the same strange signal on his dusty console. Cattle was no hero. He was a scavenger, ex-military, tired of war, tired of running. His ship barely held together, its parts stolen from wrecks and black markets. But the signal intrigued him. Earth, that's what the old systems called it. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the blinking coordinates. "Ghost planet," he muttered. "Didn't think you were real." He keyed in the jump command. The engines whined in protest, but the ship obeyed. Cattle wasn't sure what he'd find, but something deep in his gut told him this was no ordinary salvage run. When Cattle emerged from the jump, his breath caught. There it was, a blue planet, glowing softly beneath layers of dust and broken satellites. He saw clouds, water, mountains. It looked alive, and yet there were no signs of cities, no orbiting stations, just silence. Then he saw the Imperial fleet. Several Tarsis warships hovered above the planet, scanning the surface. Dropships descended into the atmosphere, like black needles piercing the sky. Cattle's heart sank. "Too late," he whispered. The Empire always arrived first, and they never left empty-handed. Still, he had come this far. He powered down his systems, activating stealth mode, and waited until the fleet turned their attention away. When the moment came, he slipped through the blind spot between scanning waves and dove into the atmosphere. The surface of the planet was eerily quiet. Thick forests had overgrown old ruins. Towering trees wrapped their roots around steel and stone. Cattle's boots crunched on cracked concrete as he walked through what must have once been a city. He moved cautiously. No animals, no machines, no wind. He reached a clearing where something strange stood, half buried in earth. Covered in moss was a dome made of smooth black metal. It didn't look like anything human. And yet, when he approached, a soft blue light glowed from a circular panel. Curious, Cattle reached out. His fingers brushed the surface, and the ground trembled. A low hum echoed from beneath his feet. Lights flickered to life. The dome split open slowly, revealing a staircase that spiraled down into darkness. Cattle hesitated. Then, with a quiet breath, he stepped inside. The walls inside were seamless, lit with a dim blue glow. He moved slowly, gun drawn, though nothing moved. At the bottom of the stairs was a circular chamber, with a control panel standing in the center. He approached, and the air grew warmer. A soft, calm voice filled the room. Human presence detected. Identity, incomplete. Genetic match, 72%. Authorization, pending. Cattle froze. "Who's there?" "I am E. Dolon, Earth Defense Corps. Status dormant. Awaiting command input." Cattle blinked. "Your Earth's defense system." "Correct. Last recorded commander, General Leora Draven. Status deceased. Relation to subject, bloodline confirmed." Cattle staggered back. "Draven, that was his grandmother's name. I didn't come here to take command. I just wanted to see." He paused. "Why is this place hidden?" "Last protocol, concealment. Purpose, survive extinction. Power core at 4%. Awakening sequence initiated. Warning, hostile forces detected in orbit. Cattle's mind raced. The Empire, they must have triggered something. And now this thing, this warship thought he was in charge. Outside, the ground shook again. Distant rumbles echoed from the surface. The Empire was coming. Cattle looked up at the glowing console. I guess I don't have a choice. He placed his hand on the panel. The lights surged. Partial command accepted. System stabilizing. Welcome, Cattle Draven. And far above in the sky, Earth began to awaken. The hum beneath Kyle's feet grew louder. The walls of the chamber glowed brighter. A deep, steady vibration passed through the air, as if the planet itself had begun to breathe. Kyle stood still, his hand resting on the control panel. The voice spoke again, calm but more focused now. Primary energy grid recharging, memory systems restoring, structural integrity stable. He took a step back, heart pounding. What exactly are you? He asked. Designation E. Eidolon. Planetary class autonomous warship, created by Earth Defense Initiative, year 2984. Purpose: protect human civilization from extinction-level threats. Kyle stared at the glowing console. You're the planet, correct? Subsurface fusion arrays, orbital defense weapons, and atmospheric control systems are integrated across planetary layers. This planet is a weapon. Kyle rubbed his forehead. This wasn't just some bunker or old satellite system. This entire planet had been turned into a war machine, a sleeping giant, and now it was waking up because of him. Suddenly the chamber lights flickered. A warning tone rang out. External threat detected. Imperial ships landing. Estimated ground contact in 8 minutes. Kyle's blood ran cold. He turned and ran up the spiral stairs, back toward the surface. High above the surface, Commander Solari Vex stood at the edge of a landing platform, her black armor gleaming under the pale light of Earth's upper atmosphere. Status? She asked without looking at her officers. Surface scan shows artificial structures mostly buried, said a lieutenant. Something just powered up below, not ours. Vex narrowed her eyes. I want a ground team inside that signal source. Whatever it is, it woke up when we arrived. That's not a coincidence. She turned toward her drop soldiers, elite troopers in full exosuits. Bring me whatever you find. Anyone who resists, silence them. The soldiers nodded and stepped into the drop pods. A moment later, the sky above the ruins cracked open as black pods streaked down like falling stars. Kyle reached the surface and looked up. The Empire was coming. He ducked behind a broken wall and watched as the pods slammed into the ground with loud thuds. They opened with a hiss and armored soldiers spilled out, efficient, quiet, and armed. Kyle cursed under his breath and backed away. He had no chance in a direct fight, but he wasn't alone anymore. He touched his earpiece, linked to the console below. Eidolon, can you hear me? Online, awaiting instruction. There are hostiles on the surface. Can you defend? Basic defensive systems active. Target coordinates. Kyle peeked from behind a pillar and marked the soldier's location using his visor. Coordinates received. Engaging non-lethal deterrence. From the earth itself came a low grinding sound. The trees near the soldiers trembled, and then the ground exploded upward as steel towers burst from beneath. Sonic pulses knocked the soldiers off their feet. One was dragged underground by a long metallic arm that vanished just as quickly. Kyle didn't wait. He ran. Behind him, the soldiers regrouped, confused and shaken. One shouted into a comm, "Commander, the ground is alive." Back on the ship, Vex frowned. "Deploy backup. Heavier armor. Something's protecting the structure." Kyle ducked into a hidden entrance and followed a tunnel deeper into the warship's core. As he ran, lights turned on automatically, guiding his path. The walls changed, less like a bunker, more like the inside of a machine. The warship wasn't just active, it was aware. He stopped in a wide chamber where strange machines floated above the floor. Holograms lit the air. Images of Earth's past flashed, cities burning, alien fleets attacking, humans fleeing into space. Kyle turned as the AI spoke again. These are memory records. The fall of Earth began when the Orion War erupted. Earth was losing. The solution: build a final weapon. A guardian. Eidolon. Images of the warship's construction filled the space: giant fusion cores, orbital weapons, even planetary armor. Then, silence. Time passed. The world fell asleep. Why didn't they use you? Kyle asked quietly. Insufficient time. Eidolon was incomplete. The enemy reached Earth before activation. Survivors launched into deep space. Eidolon was hidden, awaiting return. Kyle stepped closer to the projection. Among the fleeing survivors, he saw the name Leora Draven, his grandmother. She had helped build this. Maybe she had hoped one day someone in her bloodline would return. Kyle's jaw clenched. Well, I'm here now. A red alert blared through the chamber. Warning: enemy breach. Proximity critical. The AI's voice shifted, still calm but faster. Do you wish to initiate full defensive protocol? Kyle hesitated. Activating Eidolon completely would mean war. But if he didn't, the Empire would take it. They would use this planet to dominate the galaxy. His hand hovered over the control pad. I don't want to start a war, he whispered. But I won't let them have this. He placed his palm on the panel. Command confirmed. Partial control granted. Initiating core defenses. The planet shuddered. All across the surface, towers rose. Cannons unfolded from the sides of cliffs. Shield generators powered up, casting a blue shimmer across the skies. And in orbit, the Empire's fleet saw the light rising from the planet. Vex watched silently, her hands clenched behind her back. So, she said softly, it's a warship. Her eyes glowed with determination. Then we'll take it. The sun hung low over the forgotten world as Kale stood at the edge of the ruins, staring into the sky. Blue light shimmered above. Eidolon's energy shields now covered the planet like a second atmosphere. The ground beneath his feet still trembled from the awakening. The warship had accepted him. Now the Empire would come with fire and steel to tear it away. He wasn't ready, but he had no choice. Kale turned back toward the structure, hurrying down through the tunnel once more. His breath was tight in his chest, his thoughts racing. The Empire wouldn't back down. He had to learn more. Fast. How much control did he actually have? Could Eidolon fight off a full-scale assault? Eidolon, he said aloud as he entered the core chamber again. Status: defensive systems online. Core power at 47%. Full activation not yet possible. Recharging. Can you hold off an army? Limited resistance possible. Hostiles are adapting. Enemy tactics evolving. Kale's jaw clenched. Of course they were. Tarsis soldiers weren't just soldiers. They were trained, enhanced and backed by war machines that had conquered dozens of systems. A soft chime sounded. The AI continued. Proximity alert. 10 enemy units approaching core location. Kale grabbed his rifle from the nearby wall. It was old and scarred, but reliable. He slid the charge in and took position near the narrow entrance that led to the surface tunnel. His heart thumped hard. He wasn't a hero, not anymore. But he couldn't run. He raised his weapon as the first soldier came into view. A tall figure in heavy black armor, visor glowing red. The enemy raised their weapon, but Kale fired first. The blast hit the soldier's chest, knocking him back. Another stepped in, and Kale ducked behind a steel pillar as plasma fire lit the air. Engage intruders, Eidolon asked. Yes, Kale shouted. Use whatever you've got down here. The floor around the soldiers shifted. Panels opened and mechanical arms shot out, grabbing one by the leg and slamming him into the wall. Another was pulled into the floor, disappearing with a scream. The rest began to fall back, regrouping outside. Kale caught his breath. His hands were shaking, but he wasn't dead. Not yet. High above on the Sovereign Lance, Commander Solari Vex stood in her private command chamber. A circular display showed the battle on the surface, her soldiers under attack from automated defenses. She watched quietly, eyes cold. He's using the system now, she said. The AI's chosen him. Her second in command, Captain Reese, stepped forward. Should we send in another wave? Vex shook her head slowly. Not yet. That planet is a weapon, but it's still waking up. Let it burn power. Then we take it. Reese hesitated. And the boy? Vex smiled slightly. He thinks he's in control. He won't be for long. She turned to a separate screen, this one showing a deep scan of the surface. At the center glowed a massive energy signature. Eidolon's heart. That core is worth more than 100 planets, she said softly. We're not here to destroy. We're here to own. Back underground, Kale sat near the warship's main interface, studying the data. Eidolon projected information into the air. Weapon systems, shield strength, core maps. It was overwhelming. I need to know more about what I'm sitting on, Kale said. What else can you show me? The lights around him dimmed, and a new projection appeared. A large hologram of Earth, covered in glowing nodes, weapons, turrets, shipyards, satellite cannons hidden beneath crust and ocean. The planet had been transformed into something else entirely. Eidolon is not just a defense platform, the AI said. It is a mobile command base, a last-stand fortress, built to fight galactic threats when all else fails. Kale swallowed hard. Why didn't Earth ever use it? The war ended too quickly. The enemy overwhelmed Earth before the systems were complete. Survivors left. I was left behind. And now the cycle begins again. Kale sat in silence. He didn't want to be a commander. He had seen war, lost friends, and walked away from everything. But now he was tied to a machine that could shake the stars, and the Empire wasn't going to stop. He stood. All right then. If they want this world, they'll have to earn it. The Empire wasn't waiting. Outside the shield perimeter, mobile siege units landed on the surface. Massive walkers with plasma cannons began firing at the edges of the dome, testing its strength. From orbit, gunships launched wave after wave of drones, probing for weaknesses. Inside, Kale watched from a high tower. He saw the flashes in the sky, the fire in the clouds, and felt the power beneath his feet. The planet was alive now, and he was its voice. Eidolon, he said calmly, target the walkers, set shields to adaptive frequency. Let's make them regret stepping foot here. Acknowledged, engaging primary defenses. Across the hills, the ground opened, and long-barreled weapons rose from hidden silos. They charged, glowing bright, and fired. The walkers exploded one by one, their remains burning across the landscape. Kale turned his gaze skyward. This was only the beginning. Kale walked deeper into the heart of the planet. The battle outside still raged, but down here, all was quiet. The tunnel he followed was lit with a pale blue glow. The walls curved like living metal, smooth and silent. It felt less like he was walking through a machine, and more like being inside a sleeping beast, one that was slowly waking up. He needed answers. The warship had accepted him, but only partially. Eidolon was holding something back. A full connection wasn't complete, and Kale had a feeling the key wasn't just in commands, it was in memory. His memory, or his family's. Eidolon, he said, his voice echoing softly. Show me everything. I want to know the truth about this place, about my grandmother, about Earth. A door ahead of him slid open without a sound. He stepped into a large chamber, shaped like a dome. In the center floated a glowing crystal. Suspended above a metal pedestal, screens and symbols circled it slowly in the air. The chamber pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Welcome to the archive, Eidolon said. Without needing to touch anything, the room responded to Kale's presence. Holograms flared to life. He saw cities, tall, beautiful cities of glass and green. Earth before the fall. Then came the war. Alien ships in the sky, fire raining down. The collapse of Earth's moon, the defense fleets losing ground. Then silence, survivors boarding deep space arcs. Kale watched one ship lift off with a name on its hull. Draven lineage, Exodus 4. He stepped closer. That was her, wasn't it? Yes, General Leora Draven, architect of Eidolon's mind. Her DNA patterns were embedded in command protocols. Her line was trusted. You are the first to return. Kale swallowed hard. He had known his grandmother was a soldier, a leader maybe, but this, she had helped build the most powerful warship ever made, and had hoped her bloodline would one day return to finish what she started. "Why didn't you activate for the Empire?" he asked. "Imperial codes rejected. Their DNA contains no match to authorized lineage. Their intent is conquest. My purpose is protection." Kale nodded slowly. "Good." But the thought chilled him. What if he hadn't come? Would Eidolon have stayed asleep forever? Or would the Empire have found a way in eventually, by force? He circled the crystal core and watched it pulse. "What are you truly capable of?" he asked. In response, the walls of the chamber lit up. Eidolon showed him layers upon layers of systems, weapon grids across the planet's crust, satellite defense rings in low orbit, factories buried under oceans, even a hangar that could launch its own starships. Kale stared in disbelief. "You're not just a weapon," he whispered. "You're a fortress, a whole army." "Correct. Fully operational status requires command approval, and energy threshold of 85%. Current level 62%. "Keep charging," he said. "We'll need it." Meanwhile, above the surface, Commander Vex stood on the bridge of her ship with her arms crossed. Her eyes were locked on the glowing shield that protected the planet. Her fleet's guns had pounded it for hours, but the barrier still held. Drones sent through weak spots had vanished. Her ground teams had been forced to retreat. But she wasn't giving up. She turned to her engineers. "The AI system is protecting him. That means it's not just a defense system. It's sentient, alive. If we can hack into its central core, we can override the command lock." Her lead technician hesitated. "That would require physical access, Commander. And it's likely the system will defend itself violently." "Then we go in harder," Vex said. "He's just one man. We are the Empire." She turned to her comms officer. "Deploy the heavy units. All of them. Ground level, tunnels, everything. If the planet fights back, we burn it." Kale climbed a tower that rose up through the surface. It was the first time he had seen the sky clearly since he arrived. The shield shimmered like glass above him, pulsing gently. In the distance the horizon burned. Smoke rose from crash sites. Trees glowed with firelight. Imperial troops had not given up. But Kale was no longer afraid. He stood tall at the top, wind in his hair, eyes fixed on the stars. This place had been Earth once, home to billions. Now it was a secret buried under time, armed with the ghosts of the past. A memory, a warning. His voice was quiet as he spoke. "This is our planet. I won't let them take it," Eidolon answered. "Then stand ready. Enemy forces are breaching the outer crust. They are coming." Kale took a deep breath, steadied his rifle, and walked back into the tower's control room. This time he wouldn't run. He would fight. The ground rumbled under Kale's feet as the first shockwave hit. He stood inside a command tower near the central node of Eidolon, watching from a high window as fire lit up the forests below. The Empire had made its move. "They're coming in waves," Eidolon reported. 45 dropships. Estimated deployment, 4,000 infantry, 80 armored units, 12 mobile plasma tanks. Invasion pattern. Total ground control. Kale didn't flinch. "Open the outer bunkers. Prepare orbital cannons. Power up drone defense swarms." Confirmed. Defensive protocols fully active. Far across the planet's surface, buried hatches split open with loud cracks. Giant weapons rose from the earth. Plasma cannons, railgun turrets, and tower-mounted laser arrays. From the oceans, silent drones emerged in clusters, taking to the skies like flocks of metal birds. The invasion had begun. High above the planet, Commander Solari Vex stood at the center of her flagship's war room. Around her, dozens of officers shouted coordinates, weapons reports, and squad updates. "Push harder," Vex commanded. "The system is burning power fast. The longer it fights, the weaker it gets." She turned to her AI assistant. "Status on the planet's core." The digital voice responded coldly. "Energy readings still rising. Current level 78%. Full activation near." Vex narrowed her eyes. "Then we strike now." She turned to her second-in-command. "Deploy the Vortex-class breachers. Send them straight through the central tunnel. I want that command core taken. alive. Kale ran down the spiral ramp of the tower, rifle in hand, breath heavy. Every screen he passed showed movement. Imperial soldiers moving through jungle paths, armored walkers stomping across valleys, drones dogfighting in the skies. The planet shook as the first plasma shell struck the outer hull of Eidolon's central crust. Deep inside, Kale could feel the warship reacting. The entire world was alive with purpose. Seal all inner gates, Kale ordered. Slow them down, we need time. Acknowledged. Deploying delay tactics. From hidden launch bays across the interior, Eidolon released wave after wave of combat drones, sleek, fast, silent machines programmed to hunt and hold enemy squads. The narrow tunnels became a maze of fire and smoke. Kale stopped in front of the central chamber, the core room. The crystal structure floated again, brighter now, glowing with a deep golden light. Power level 84%, 1% from full command control, the AI said. Kale gritted his teeth. We're almost there. Then the wall exploded. A shockwave blasted through the chamber, throwing Kale to the ground. Sparks flew, metal bent. The smoke cleared, and from the hole came 6 black-armored Imperial soldiers, weapons raised. Behind them marched a towering breacher mech, its arms glowing with pulsing red energy. Stand down, one of the soldiers shouted. You are under arrest by order of the Empire of Tarsus. Kale pushed himself to his knees. He didn't have time for this. The core glowed brighter. The AI's voice rang out, calm but firm. Unauthorized access detected. Engaging lethal defense. From the wall's turrets unfolded. Lightning-fast pulses struck 2 soldiers before they could fire. The others scattered, shouting. Kale rolled into cover behind the control pedestal, firing twice. 1 soldier dropped. The mech advanced, smashing a turret with 1 heavy arm. Eidolon, Kale shouted. Activate fail-safe protocols. Full control now. Power level at 85%. Command interface unlocked. Confirm final access. Kale slammed his palm onto the core panel. Confirmed. Welcome, Commander Kale Draven. All across the planet, the lights changed. The defense systems pulsed brighter. Orbiting drones aligned into perfect formations. Satellite cannons turned toward enemy ships. Eidolon was fully awake. Vex watched as her fleet screens flickered, then failed. Commander, one of her officers cried. We've lost contact with all forward units. Our ships are being locked. Planet-based targeting systems are overriding our guidance. No, Vex whispered. On her screen, a new signal appeared. 1 word, Eidolon. Then came the voice, Kale's voice. This is Commander Kale Draven. Earth is awake. You are not welcome here. The sky turned white. From the planet, beams of pure energy blasted into the Empire's fleet. One by one, ships exploded in bright bursts of fire. On the surface, walkers and tanks were shredded by drones and orbital strikes. The invasion force crumbled in minutes. Inside her ship, Vex slammed her fist into the console. Pull back. All units retreat. But it was too late. A final shockwave hit her flagship, cutting power. Alarm screamed. She was thrown to the floor. Kale stood in the core room, watching it all happen through the warship's eyes. Eidolon had finished what Earth once started. The war was over. The next day, Kale walked the surface of the planet, quiet and alone. Smoke still rose in the distance. Burned wreckage lay scattered in valleys and fields. But above, the sky was calm. The shield remained in place, strong, silent, and watching. Eidolon spoke gently. All threats neutralized. Systems stable. What are your orders, Commander? Kale looked toward the stars. He thought of what the Empire would do now. Others might come. Maybe not soon, but someday. Seal the planet, he said. No more signals, no more lights. Let them think it was lost. Understood. And if they come back, then I will wake again. Kale nodded. He turned and walked into the forest. He had no plans to rule, no interest in power, but now he understood what his grandmother had left behind. Not just a weapon, a message. The planet was quiet now. Where once there had been fire, now there was ash. Smoke drifted through broken trees. Metal debris lay scattered across the hills. The Empire's war machines, twisted, burned, and silent, were reminders of the battle that had just ended. Kale stood on a cliff overlooking the valley. The wind tugged at his coat. Below, drone teams moved across the land, collecting wreckage and scanning for any remaining threats. None remained. He took a slow breath. It was over. All enemy forces have been neutralized. Eidolon said softly in his earpiece. No active Tarsis signals remain within planetary range. Shield systems are stable. Defense grid is on standby. Kale didn't respond right away. His eyes followed the curve of the land. The forests, the rivers, the mountains. The world wasn't just a weapon. Beneath the scars, it was still Earth, alive, waiting. Good, he said at last. Begin repairs, but keep the weapons offline. Confirmed. Defense systems entering silent mode. Surveillance only. High above, in orbit, the last remnants of the Empire's fleet had fled. The wreckage of their largest ships drifted in pieces. Their signals had gone dark. Kale knew they wouldn't be back soon. But one day someone would come again. Deep within Eidolon's core chamber, Kale stood before the crystal once more. The light within it was calm now, no longer pulsing with battle energy. The walls of the chamber were still scarred from the invasion, burn marks, cracked panels, but the damage was cosmetic. Eidolon was healing. He stared at the glowing core, thinking of his grandmother, Larura Draven. She had built this. She had watched the old Earth fall and made a choice to preserve its final defense and entrust it to someone who would come after her. That someone was him. Kale wasn't a leader. He never wanted to be. But Eidolon had chosen him, and now the choice was his to make. You were designed to fight, Kale said quietly. But I don't want this planet to be a threat. I want it to be safe. Acknowledged, Eidolon replied. I exist to follow the command of my rightful controller. I will adapt. Kale nodded. No more signals. No broadcasts. Let the galaxy think Earth is still lost. Understood. Cloaking protocol reactivating. Planetary signature fading. Across space, Earth's presence vanished once again. To the rest of the galaxy, it would become a myth, a ghost planet in a forgotten sector. Untouched, undiscovered. Kale turned from the core and walked slowly toward the upper levels of the tower. Days passed. Nature began to reclaim the battlefields. The trees returned. The sky cleared. Rivers washed the black soot from the hills. And Eidolon, the machine heart of the world, went into quiet mode, watching, waiting, protecting. Kale spent his days exploring the old ruins, places built by humans long ago before the Exodus. He found libraries, labs, forgotten farms. He studied, learned, remembered, and he recorded everything. Not just about the war or the empire, but about Earth itself, its people, its history, its beauty. He saved those stories, not for weapons, but for those who might one day come home, because they would. One day someone else would return, maybe a survivor, maybe a descendant, maybe a lost traveler, searching for the planet of legends. When that happened, they would find a guardian, a voice, a history. Kale would make sure of it. At the edge of the forest, Kale stood beside a large stone marker. He had carved it himself from local rock. It wasn't fancy, just a smooth stone slab, standing tall among the trees. Across its surface were only a few simple words. This world is protected, not by weapons, but by memory. If you come with peace, you are welcome. If not, beware. He stepped back, looking up at the stars one last time before heading into the trees. The sky above was clear. No warships, no fleets, just stars. Earth was at peace, and this time, it would stay that way.